You're listening to the Doug Stanhope Podcast.
Projects, program, foundation, whatever.
All right. And you're on.
All right. Hey, it's the morning after pill podcast. We call part one cycling together.
Oh, ladies, I get it.
Yeah. And cycling.
It's cycling.
Cycling.
Yeah.
I love it.
I was like, I don't have a bike, but all right.
Not yet. Not yet. Just you wait.
Will you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to train me to make it in the Olympics?
Hell yes. Absolutely. Oh my God. This is a gold mine.
Is there still softball? Because,
it's coming
obvious.
back.
Is it?
Yeah. 2020.
I missed that window. Like, I was too young, and then it happened after I was already a drunk comic. And
oh, no.
Go back
we were talking about trans sports, and we never got to steroid stuff, and I don't want to get into it because I want to get into Becker's projects.
Which is trans stuff, so that's fine. That's a good segue.
Would steroids, would you be okay with a steroid league? I know it's bandied about as a joke, but I think do they? I mean, is it a set amount of like? Is it like when they do the BAC, right? Like you have to hit this amount. Like, yes, I'm totally fine with the steroid league as long as everybody just do
involved.
any drugs you want.
Oh, any
that's
drugs,
fine.
Yeah.
Like
I think that's hilarious to see what might happen if that were.
If
at least
people are willing to destroy their bodies for the sport, there should be a separate legue for that.
I think that's probably what I think you should start that league.
And then the clean league would eventually be like the AFL where they merged. Once they were competitive, and they merged the leagues.
I'm on board.
I'm into it. I think that should happen.
I just thought that because when you said you in the Olympics, I thought, oh, wait, if there's a smokers Olympics. Thought of you playing softball with a cigarette dangling out of your lips.
Fuck.
A UPS jersey.
I used to have a Rug Doctor shirt. It's my fucking favorite.
Saddle.
Uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Two of my favorite things.
What's
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good goodness.
Holy shit, that was a thing.
That was the night.
That woman was dead in the front row.
Oh my God.
That was fascinating. You handled that so well. You did.
I had a bit that describes her almost perfectly, and I'm like, I'm going to have to do this bit in front of this woman. She was probably 90 years old, and her eyes were closed almost the entirety of my set, and she's as front row center as you can be in that room.
But not only eyes closed, but like mouth gaping open too. Like it wasn't just a normal nap. She was out.
I was amazed at her posture for being fully out. It reminded me of we were driving back from Boise, and I stopped at this animal sanctuary, and I go, Tracy, what's that horse doing? She's all, oh, he's sleeping. I go, how can you tell? He just stands there like frozen, and that was that lady. She was as if it was a snapshot. But her eyes were totally shut. Mm-hmm. She wasn't leaning back on the chair. Her back was off of it, but totally frozen in position like a horse in a field.
She's been training for this moment.
I'm used to that with
She was locked.
I'm used to that with people passing out in my audience from being shit-faced.
Yeah.
But then you can fuck with them. You can't fuck with a 90-year-old lady and her, I assume, daughter, her kinfolk, I don't know, her carer.
Mm-hmm. They didn't.
That was the lady's like, are you serious? I go, what? About those pants? That was the opening heckle from her. And that's when I realized the lady beside her is an elderly woman that might be dead.
Maybe that woman's always annoying, and so her friend pretends to be dead because she's embarrassed of her friend yelling at people every time they fucking walk on stage. Oh, fuck.
Horse nap.
Just play dead. Play dead.
Yeah, the one sitting next to the lady who was napping, she didn't. It's like the person who got dragged to a show. I didn't see her laugh once, and she was just
Yeah, the people,
sourpuss.
I couldn't tell if there were 4 people at that table, and I think 2 of them were. I think they sat 2 couples together.
Well, yeah,
they didn't know each
it
other.
was sold out, so anywhere there was a seat, someone paid for it, so they had to put people together. That makes sense.
Paid for
that
it.
makes sense now because the other 2 people were having fun,
Yeah,
and then they were with the sourpuss and the sleeping.
yeah. I
lady.
recognized the guy at the table, but I can't remember where, and I didn't want to. Anyway,
That's good.
Kristen Becker,
Yes, sir.
activist.
Fuck you.
Well, when I realized you are going to be in town on the same day, Kathryn Bertine is still with us, and
I'm still alive.
I was gonna say,
We won't let her leave.
we almost lost her.
but when I go, oh, that's a great pairing on the podcast, and then when I looked at your website, said activist. I go, oh, I guess you're fucking doing some other shit.
Well, if
Thought
you
it was
can't-
just dyke jokes.
It's it's both. It's using dyke jokes for the good of humanity. Yeah. So we did the tour. I did the Loose in the Bible Belt tour with Tammy Faye Baker's kid, Jay Baker. He's a preacher. And when we were going through the Deep South, there was an article in the Shreveport Times where I went to high school, and it was this kid's story about how he had to graduate high school early, and it was right around my 20th high school reunion. And I think that's what fucking did it. Like. That I went back to my hometown. It was 20 years later, and on the front page of whatever section, this kid's telling my story 20 years later, right? And it's like, I got to do something, right? And I go back to P-Town, and there's visa issues and worker shortages, right? Like because American teenagers don't fucking work anymore. So
Provincetown, if you don't know, is at the very end of Cape Cod in Massachusetts, and it's a primarily gay.
yeah, it's a gay beach destination.
Escape.
Yeah, escape, and so huge, 50,000 people every week in the summer, right? Like huge tourist destination. So I have to import workforce for the summer. And I just thought, well, why aren't we taking these kids from the South who are making $7 in a McDonald's, right? And you bring them up here and they're going to make 12, 15, and they're going to feel great about themselves. But most importantly, they're going to have the opportunity to not be the freak of their town or whatever, right? Like if you're a trans kid in small town Texas, then everybody kind of looks at you and you just don't know you don't have room to figure yourself out. And so I just threw up an email or like on the Facebook community, Provincetown community space. I'm like, hey, does anybody have a room that they were going to rent? And if so, can I bring a kid up here and put it in it? And that's how it started. And then, the second year we got a $25,000 grant. And so we bring the kids up and we help them with flights and we set them up with job interviews. And then once they're there, they start paying rent like the third week.
You ever get some hillbilly kids faking gay for $15 an hour?
So here's the thing. I don't fucking care. And that's the key. Like
You don't make them prove it?
No, that's the thing is like all my girlfriends are with dudes right now, right? Like it's all a spectrum, man, and these kids like get put into these little boxes and when they're like 18, 19 and I tell them like, I don't care what, you could be a Duggar at the end of this. Like, I don't fucking care, right? Like, I just, our tagline is what better looks like, right? Because people are like, it gets better, it gets better, it gets better. But like, what is that? Like, these kids need a visual. I grew up in Shreveport and I had no idea P-Town existed, until I was like 30. And just seeing, if you're from a town where they tell you, oh, you're queer and you're going to like max out as manager at the Dollar General, right? Because it's the only fucking place that'll hire you. You go to this place and, there's $1 million beach homes owned by gay people and they're like, oh, wait, we are actually wildly successful with shit to prove. So like, so as we did, we got a grant the second year and, now I'm getting an executive director because I don't know how to fucking run a not-for-profit and I have no business doing this, right? But it was an idea that I had to just see if it would work. And it's really like the kids are doing great.
The name of it?
The name of it is Summer of Sass. SOS, right? Waiting, distress signal. And yeah, we're just launched a campaign to try and buy a house in P-Town. We've got a couple of people who are kind of interested in there being a legacy and,
I smell reality show.
The first year Vice did an article and they were like, what about? And I was like, no, that defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
There's not enough conflict here. Everyone's getting along. Do they create some conflict?
Oh, there's like, it's funny. It's year We're going into year
They
3.
buy the house next to you and bring the redneck bullies up to live next door.
Jersey Shore.
Clears.
They just import.
Polly D and Vinny
Hilarious.
move in next door.
They're a little gay. Pauly D and Vinny. But, you know, to your point, like, however they identify, I tell them, like, just know that the place you're coming to is real fucking gay, right? Like, you can be whatever. Just know that. And it's really, it's been a game changer for a lot of the kids. And now they're staying. They're coming up and they're like staying year round and moving into town. And so we're kind of, it's this, and it's, you know, P-Town's where the Pilgrims first landed. It's not Plymouth. They landed in Provincetown. You've been lied to. They were just they were awful in Provincetown. Like they couldn't find water. So they failed. So like when they wrote the American history books, they just left that fucking part out of like the 5 weeks they were here failing and starving and whatever. But,
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's real. And it's,
I just assumed they moved there and they were all gay, so they didn't procreate. They had to wait for straight ones to go to Plymouth.
but it's also like
Phase themselves out.
One generation.
It's you know, it's the same thing that's happening all across the country is happening there, right? Like the second homeowners, rich folks are coming in and we make them gay too and they're buying stuff. And so, and the year-round artist community that was there, like it was very much the crazies went to the tip of the Cape and made their shit. You know, I feel like Bisbee has a similar, like you go far away from everybody else and you make your stuff. And so there was some gentrification starting to happen. And so the other thing, because gay people didn't make babies, to your point. And so it's an aging population that's dying out when now there's not a need to necessarily escape. There's more places you can escape to, right? So this also is kind of helping us resurge our year-round community and like the artist community and have a foothold there instead of it just kind of dying out and becoming Nantucket, you know, Martha's Vineyard. No offense to them.
Are these kids all applying from Shreveport in the Louisiana area, or is it from throughout the?
It's from wherever,
Bible Belt?
and it's actually outside. It's now just anywhere oppressive. I mean, the reality is small town Pennsylvania.
How do you find them?
Because of the tour, I had a network of not-for-profits and activist groups through the South that I had worked with. We partnered with on the tour, so I just shot an email out and then got the first few participants, and then now we have. It's been them telling their friends sort of thing. And then we have a new kid coming this year. I don't want to use his name because he's figuring out how much he's telling people, but his doctor actually wrote me his psychologist wrote me a lovely letter and was like, this kid just needs a chance to not have people looking at him and calling him fag. And he was like, they were calling me fag before I even knew I was fag. You know, he's like, you know, and that's the other thing is like, you don't even fucking know, right? Like, I just want them to know our goal is to make happy, healthy humans. We meet them where they are. We help them get where they're going and wherever the fuck that is. It's not my business where they're going.
How dare you?
We're just
How fucking dare you?
Stop playing God.
An organization going down and recruiting kids who are gay. We've heard about this
Casting
for years.
calls.
We've heard about this for years and they deny it, but see, that's what they're doing.
and listen, when
It's kind of human trafficking.
we do buy their ticket.
One way and keep their passports. That's a callback from part one.
You're like a professional. It's funny. When I first launched it, there was definitely those people, and there were some of them were old gay guys who were like, "Oh, you better watch out," you know. And it's like, yeah, well, those people are everywhere. Like, and also, how much do you hate yourself that you believe the lies that you've been told about your own community, right? Like that everybody's a fucking pedophile. What are you talking about, man? Like, and then they're everywhere. This is just a little bit of a prettier place to have them, and you know, people wear costumes and dress up, and the freak flag is.
It reminds me of Key West.
It's very similar.
It's like it's where the boardwalk hits the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be like kind of a destination for people. Like I don't want to. It's not just gay. It's for people with creative types and people who don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and I think there's something, the water's real healing, right? Like I know a lot of people show up there just to like get the fuck away. Like whenever, you ended up in Bisbee for a reason, right? Just get the fuck away.
The water, but you got here and it wasn't here.
Yeah, no.
But they drained the pool.
Yeah, the water being healing, but then also that like you just kind of get away from the frenetic of the rest of it. Yeah. And I think P-Town's good for
I
healing.
went there when we were kids. It was probably 10 or 12, only time we went there. And Massachusetts back then, a 2-hour drive you packed a fucking cooler and it was an event.
Yeah, well, there's still not much on the way out there, like you still have to like bring your supplies with you.
But now a 2-hour drive is just to the airport. It's a 2 hours nothing. But as a kid, just going to Boston, 38 miles from Worcester, Mom would pack sandwiches and going all the way to Boston. 45 minutes. It's fucking crazy and it's still
in
like
one
that.
Day?
Yeah, it's still
in one day.
That's why New England comics can work and never leave New England, because people don't leave their own towns.
Yeah.
Like that they still have that mentality. Like, you're playing Worcester. When are you going to play Boston? Like, come on, we're adults now. It's 45 minutes.
I'm going 90% of the way. Meet me up.
But comics can work. Just a circuit in Massachusetts, because people will wait for them to come to Framingham or wherever.
Yeah. Oh man, maybe no. I haven't done
Framingham.
Oh, there it is. That was a
what was that? Because that kid, I want to say creepy, but he's your friend, the Tammy Faye Baker's kid. He had a reality show for a minute.
Yeah, that's how I found him. That's how. So I had gone through. I did.
He's like a preacher.
He's great. Like,
is he gay?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, and he's great, and it blew my mind. Truthfully, I did a tour. I wrote a blog, and then the Louisiana Democratic Party picked it up, and they were putting a non-discrimination act before the Louisiana State Senate. And they asked me if I would come down. They just liked the tone that I hit with, and they're like, "Can you come express this to these people?" I was like, "Well, yeah, but I'm fucking broke, so I got to do a tour." So we did a tour. We called it Back on the Bayou. I gave them a portion. I just did like 5 shows in the state and awareness. And when I realized that, like, while I was going through these towns, I can't argue Bible. I fucking can't. Like, I can tell you I'm a real whole human and there's nothing wrong with me, but like, I can't speak your language to debate you. And then I realized, like, I need a straight white dude to justify my fucking existence. So I went and found one. And there's a clip of him.
He had some free time?
Yeah, he has some free time. There was a clip of him there's a documentary called One Punk Under God that followed him around. Yeah. And I watched that randomly in February. I was snowed in and seasonally depressed, and like just fucking got it from the library and watched it. And he's at an African American church in Atlanta. And this is, 20 years ago, at the cusp of the gay marriage movement. And he's preaching and they're loving it and they're hooting and hollering and then he says, "And that's why I'm for gay marriage." And like fucking all of the oxygen out of the room in this primarily African American church. And he just stopped. And then he just went for it. And then he quoted Martin Luther King. And he's like, "I don't understand people who have been oppressed, like wanting to oppress others." And like, I was like, that guy's got fucking fortitude, right? like I know what that moment feels like. And then he just went. And so I just shot him a tweet. I was like, "I like the cut of your jib." That's what I did. I tweeted that at him. And then we had some conversations later, and we ended up meeting in DFW airport. And we got in a van together for 3 weeks with Samantha Ruddy, who's a comic, and another musician, Sarah Rose from New Orleans. And we started driving around. And he preaches, like actually preaches the love of Christ. And then I do dirty fisting jokes afterwards. Like, it's really, you want to be a better comic, follow a preacher, man. It's really, it'll really make you. And so there he is.
He looks familiar, Doug.
What, did he have a reality show, or am I? Maybe I. Just
it was
saw
a docuseries. Yeah, okay. It was like a 6-episode docuseries, and he really, he's a incredibly kind, caring, loving man. Like, it's really with a lot of mental health issues right now.
Was he adopted?
No. See, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. His
Bakers
mom,
assholes.
His dad, his mom was great. Like, if you go back to her real history after they split up, like her and Ron Jeremy are good friends. Like they were in the Surreal Life together and ended up sharing it. So his mom was the first person to have a gay man with AIDS on her talk show without like wearing a mask. Yeah. Right? Like that, no, but like really there's she's an icon in the queer community because even though, it's very Jesus based, and yes, we all know.
But she looks like a fucking female impersonator.
Yeah, and that's something that I'll also tell you that it changes your perspective when you're with her kid. right? Like when you're with somebody and, you know, he can't stand I ran into Tammy Faye at the mall shirts. He's like, he was like 14 when those came out, right? And I don't remember that. So it would just be like smeared makeup. And then it would say, ran into Tammy Faye at the mall, right? And I remember him telling me, he's like, you gotta understand, like, I was 14 and that was my mom and I love my fucking mom. He's like, I wanted to beat everybody's ass who had that shirt on, right? His dad's another story. His dad's on TV right now.
Oh yeah. Selling MREs
selling
in a bucket.
fucking MREs in a bucket. And, like $60 pancake survival mix and shit like that, right? And it's something that, you know, I'm hoping to eventually see if they're going to have a conversation. I mean, they talk and it's almost like you can tell that his dad is proud of him, but his dad is so ingrained in a machine that he'll never financially ever be able to get out of, that he's always going to be that guy. Like, you can see that he knows it's probably not the right fucking thing, you know, and
and that didn't queer him off. Well, I don't want to say it's not televangelism, but evangelism.
Jay?
Yeah, I mean, the kid's still going around. He started revolution.
Well, no, the kid preaches. You should read his book. He actually doubts regularly, like in his writings and in his speaking. Like, he's like, this is how I raised, and I study the scripture back and forth, and I go in and out of what I'm believing right now, and he examines it. And the thing I like the most is that he absolutely leads with love. Like, he really fucking takes people as they are. And for me, when I started it, I have a lot of friends who are Christian and gay in the South, and they've spent the last, you know, decades being told they're shit. And so to be able to bring someone to them who speaks their language.
I was just going to say that, the way you said speaks their language. If you can take their language and go, okay, well, yeah, the Bible says it this way. All right. I know the Bible's bullshit, you know, but they don't. Since they think the Bible's real, let's make it okay for them.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I say to the audience, because, you know, because my audience comes to hear my jokes, and they're very different than his audience, right? And that's the point, is to get them in the same room. But I always say to him, I was like, well, in my audience's defense, at least you guys know lesbians exist. It's like, you know, it's a real thing. Like, for as much as you might hate my fisting jokes, they're listening to this guy preach about Jesus here at a comedy show. So, like, it's an equal exchange of.
Does he try to make it funny?
No.
Do you try to write jokes for
him? No, but he's getting funnier. Like, the more he's with us, and like, he's definitely like finding his own stride. And, we had a film crew follow us the last time. We had like a 6-person crew. There's this kid in Buffalo who's a producer who just like fucking paid a whole bunch of people and put him in a van and followed us around. So I actually wanted to talk to Bingo about using some of her music, because I think it would fit I did talk to you. You're here. Hi. Yeah. Because I feel like her album just fits. There's a little religious. I don't know. When we were listening to it on the way here, I was like, oh shit. I emailed the producer. I was like, we should fucking listen to this, because it would be a great like backdrop, your spiritual one. So yeah, so those are the things. And the tours, you know, it's, people need a little shot in the arm. You know, we preach to the choir in New Orleans and Austin, and then we go to like Decatur, Alabama, where we played a CrossFit gym.
Wow.
Yeah, we played a CrossFit gym because they were the only people that would have us, and they had some queer members in their gym, and they wanted to be supportive. And what was it, Megan? They had left. The 2 CrossFit gym owners had left their.
Get on the mic. There's a mic here for you, Meg.
She knows this story better than I do.
But Megan, last name
DePonso.
Very funny last night, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much.
You weren't part of the show, but you were the after show here.
She got jumped into the gang.
Yeah.
It was great. Well. It was great. Yeah, you did good. You did good.
It was fun. Yeah, they actually contacted me. They're the 2 owners of CrossFit gyms across like the towns, and
that's a chain CrossFit gym.
Well,
it's like a. Yeah,
you lift tires, you throw shit around.
Yeah,
you get abs, I guess.
It's franchises. You get your own franchise.
Every town has to have one.
Sounds like an auto shop in high school.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I guess if you guys get paid and free memberships, you haven't spent it yet.
We wanted to do CrossFit, but the town was angry at us. Like, we had to get in and get out. Like, it was. But yeah, so they contacted us that they had left their partners, and they had decided to start dating each other.
So they're already the town sitters, right?
Town
Like the
sluts.
town.
They call themselves the town sluts. And so they wanted to throw the show because they had members of their CrossFit that were gay and they wanted to show support. And then the day of the show, they're telling us, well, they had so many people say they couldn't come, but we're messaging them. But like, and then they
couldn't come
their
because,
CrossFit
wait,
gym.
hold on. Couldn't come because they couldn't be seen there. Like sending messages saying, we support what you're doing, but we can't be seen there. So good luck. I hope.
But they couldn't use the preacher as their out.
Well, that's what we thought. But like, there's still this idea that we're promoting homosexuality. And like, now he's not a real preacher, right? Because he's obviously, it was crazy. And they lost members, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They lost 3 members, that quit going to the gym because they had this event.
To be clear, this was 2018. Like, I just want to be clear that this wasn't a decade ago. This was in November. and so, we go to New Orleans and Austin and we suck up all the goodness and we just kind of drop it in Decatur and then like, here's some good vibes from Austin. They love you. Oh, you know what's cool though? So this last tour, Jay was in the hospital. He was in a mental hospital. He had a bit of a breakdown and he talks about that very openly. And so we started looking for guest pastors on the road because I always have guest comics and it never fucking occurred to me. Like, of course I need to be elevating the voices locally so that way people have whatever, right? There's a whole DIY circuit of pastors. They're no different than comics, man. Like, if you're telling the truth, the church doesn't want you there and they fucking kick you out, even if you're a pastor. And so you've got all these guys who are like trying to preach love and unity. And the church is like, no, that's not our agenda. Get the fuck out. Right. And it was so interesting to me to see. And you can tell how long they've been doing it by their preaching, right? Like the first guy's been a pro and he's been doing it for years. And then we had this girl who'd only been preaching for like 3 years. I'm like, oh, she's a 3-year pastor. Like you could just, just judging him like comic.
You're a middle.
You're
a middle act
You're
pastor.
You're a fucking open mic pastor.
If you know any DIY preaching love Jesus pastors that have been kicked out of the nest, please contact Kristen Becker. What's
Yes,
both of your Twitters?
Becker Comedy.
Becker Comedy.
And I'm at Kathryn Bertine.
And that's Kathryn Bertine, Bertine.
Yo, Bingo gave you a bike to auction off for your foundation, Douglas. I'm wondering what you're going to give me to auction off for my foundation.
It's right on the wall, right behind you.
Can I auction off the crucifix
Yes,
for
it's
Summer of
yours.
Sass?
Take it off the wall and give it to her.
Hooray!
It's I forget where that came from.
I need a picture of you holding it close to your heart, though.
In fact, whoever gave that to me just mentioned it again. But it's Jesus on a crucifix with this big giant cock hanging out.
And the hair. Wow, that's so detailed.
You know,
That's
something?
unrealistic, even for Jesus. That's unrealistically
This
large.
is how gay I am. I didn't notice the cock until you pointed it out to me, and it's giant.
And it's all cock. Yeah, it's all cock Jesus. So there you go. We'll see.
I'll bring that back to my board.
Yeah, see
and
which
be
one
like,
fetches more money at auction.
Oh, we've got a competition. It's on.
I like it.
And you'll keep us updated as to when the auction happens. So
Absolutely. We will get that up and running this week. So in a few days, I will be putting that out on social media, on Homestretch Foundation, and on my stuff for sure. And
yeah, actually get with me. So, because I want to make sure that the podcast that we talk about it, in fact, maybe wait
absolutely.
a little
We'll wait
bit.
till the podcast
Yeah,
is
then
up.
we can push it and
Definitely.
we'll push it on Twitter and the social medias and all that.
Absolutely.
I'll wait
We were
and
just
auction
talking
this off
about
the week
your
after.
books. The two I have are The Road Less Taken and As Good as Gold. And we were just talking at breakfast. Are you going to do audio versions? Audible. Hey, audible.com.
That would be so awesome. I don't have anything audio for the first 2, even 3 books. The first book was on the elephant skating days that we talked about.
Yeah.
And all 3 of those don't have anything audio. And I'm still working right now on the next book, which is what we talked about a little bit at breakfast today. And it's pretty interesting. I'm getting a lot of pushback. And this is my 4th book. And my agent's having a hard time finding a publisher for it, because the publishers are like, oh, a book about equality, that's not going to sell. That's not going to go anywhere.
When has the market been more ripe?
I know,
for
like
that?
this is the only. Yeah, this is
Exactly.
perfect timing.
Exactly. And I think they're in that antiquated thinking of like, well, we haven't seen books on equality and activism, so we have nothing to measure that by. And I'm sitting there like, great, now I have to drop in like vampires and zombies and wizards.
Right.
Yeah.
Cycling zombies.
Get a real cause.
Yeah, I know, right? No, so I'm hoping. I do have my fingers crossed that the right publisher or the right Audible
we're big fans.
might be out there.
I mean, you've
you
got
can record
enough.
it down here. We recorded ours right here at the FunHouse.
That
you?
would be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
That would be amazing. That would be so much better than like printing out paper copies and driving around in my used Prius trying to sell them out, around the world. That would be better.
I mean, with 4 books, it seems like maybe you just haven't knocked on the right door because it's no skin off their nose to accept the audio recording and then publish it.
Agreed.
It just increases their portfolio of everything.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm
you should.
hoping.
Yeah, you get as many rejections from publishers as you did from countries when you tried to get.
It's getting close to the same number, about like 186, right? That's
St. Kitts Press presents.
that's fantastic. Oh, they'll play a role in that for sure too. They're part of the whole reason that I still was able to keep going in cycling and keep seeing all the inequality out there. So it's really interesting how many of those doors opened, and it really all came from the last book, which happened because of the first book. So it's that ongoing part. You'd think maybe some of those.
It'll happen.
It'll happen. Okay. Thank you for your faith. I so appreciate that.
Bruce,
Audible,
come on.
don't worry, they're listening.
Hey, Bruce. Hey, call me.
And maybe you won't. With the audiobooks, you don't have to worry about your face being on the cover. We were
Yes.
complaining about that. Where my first book, they made me. I had posing with a shovel, and it's really stupid, and I was against it. But that's what they wanted. And
I know.
second one, I got out of the fucking having my picture on the cover. It's good.
Well, the UK.
But you should have your picture on the cover. You're cute.
Thank you. But that is very nice. But remember,
when you said they had a Frankenstein,
they did.
on As Good as Gold, it's her head is from a different picture and the body's.
Oh, this?
That one. Yeah.
But when you said they Frankenstein the photo, I thought, oh wait, you don't have those abs. You fucking cheater.
Okay, it is technically me.
All right.
It's just 2 different photos because
One's from when I was 15 for the body.
what? You know how we all do the weird thing, like we don't smile or one eye is droopy in photos, right? So it took a gazillion pictures until they got one where I was actually looking right at the camera and the other one where my body wasn't doing weird things. And they had to put that together. I have to give a shout out to Patrick Borelli, who is a comedian, and he also works second job in graphic design. And so that's who ESPN hired to make the cover. And I thank him for that.
Was he funny on the shoot?
He was totally awesome. He was very, very funny. And he was kind too, to actually come up with this design as opposed to something that, I don't know, could have been really bad.
It's good.
So thanks, Patrick. That was awesome.
I still can't get over the figure skating part. I don't think that's fair. Like speed, fine, but not grace
Oh,
too. Do you know what I mean? Like you shouldn't be able to have both of those things. You should either be fast or graceful, not
I have
fucking
to
both.
tell you about this cover. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So see how the first cover.
Which book?
Well, they're both the same, but one is the audio, not audio,
All the
Kindle.
Sundays yet to come.
All the
That was your
Sundays yet
first
to
one?
come. Yes, that was the first one. And what's interesting, we're talking about photos of and how much the publishing industry tries to do what they think is right. So the first book, it's about my journey in pro cycling, which is all during my adult years. And there's content in there that's definitely not applicable to kids. But the photo that they wanted to put on this book original.
Wait, you mean skating?
You mean skating?
Skating.
You
Sorry.
Said, you said cycling.
Damn it. I fell on my head. So yes, definitely. Thank you. I didn't even catch it. Yeah. So all the things that, what they wanted to put on the cover of All the Sundays Yet to Come was a picture that I had of myself as a 9-year-old child. And I was dressed up in a Pinocchio costume. So I'm a little girl who looks like a little boy.
There's a fucking pattern here with the weird costumes.
It is. I know. But that's okay. When you're a kid and you're in an ice show, that part was okay, but it was so weird. So basically, if you can think about Pinocchio's costume was red and yellow. And so Little Brown wanted to put this photo on the cover, and it made it look like a children's book. And that's not good, because that book is filled with like alcohol, drinking, drugs, eating disorders, all this stuff. Like that's
Elephants,
chickens, roosters skating. All right. It's not good. So I said, no, you can't use that. But why do you want to use that? And they said, well, because red and yellow are the highest grossing colors in sales.
Yeah,
Jesus.
McDonald's.
Right? Yep. And I said no. And I was 24, 25 at the time that the book was being published. And I said, you can't use that photo. It sends the wrong message and it isn't the right thing. And I think that was part of the reason I stood up for that. And I think that's part of the reason that I wasn't represented in the future from Little Brown, because they did not like that I said, you can't use that photo, which I technically
I don't think you could use Pinocchio either, because that's a license.
Right? Maybe.
That's copyright.
Maybe. But they went with this, which is
that's
tasteful.
exactly why. No.
Yeah, it is.
No, you told them no.
I said no, right?
You're in your place.
Yeah,
You gotta love the faith of your publisher when they go, look, I don't know what's in between the cover, but on the cover we need yellow and red.
Oh,
just
even better.
I don't give a shit what's in there.
And in that photo, I'm this little kid and I'm wearing ice skates in the photo. And the guy who made this decision looked at the picture and just saw the red and yellow and said, no, if we put this on the cover, every dancer is going to buy this book. And I'm like, those aren't dance shoes. Like, those are, like, he was so focused on the red and yellow. And yeah, that's crazy.
That'd be a fun Freakonomics statistic is how many books get bought and never read. I can tell you, I'm maybe at 3% of the books I ever bought, I actually read.
Yeah. I keep thinking I'm going to read them one day. That's why I still have them, right? Like one day I'm going to have them all the time.
Then you watch a binge of Hoarders Marathon and all that shit goes to the thrift store and then you start buying them again. Or you get them for gifts. And maybe
it seems like every breakup I start over with a new book collection. I just leave them. Yeah, fuck it. Couple bags. I don't need anything else.
You should just start buying books that your partner likes.
Thank you. You're right. I should just buy when I need to buy books. I should just think of that.
I get the cat.
All right, let's wrap this up. Get you the hell out of town. Get your bike loaded in the truck.
Yeah.
Get these gals off to Tucson. You plug dates.
Let's see. What do we got? We got JT and I are going out May 14th. Habersatt and I are going May 14th through 18th, like Erie, Buffalo, Montreal.
Nice.
And then I've got the Feel Good Cabaret in New York City May 2nd, actually, before then. That's our big fundraiser in New York that we're doing at the Stonewall Inn. And Samantha Ruddy and some other great New York comics, and I'm going to host it, and probably some drag.
Chaille will have all the links on the site with the podcast when it comes out, and a pleasure.
And her newest book.
Road, yeah. The Road Less Taken is Kathryn Bertine's latest, and it's KathrynBertine.com. And you are
KristenBecker.com, KristenBecker.com, or SummerofSass.com.
All right. Woo. Thank you.
You're the best, Stanhope. Thank you.
I feel my period coming on.